This beautiful woodland is on the border of North and West Yorkshire. All I can hear is the sound of nature, birds, the water of the reservoir. But despite its natural beauty, it is also the scene of unimaginable horror from very recent memory. Hi everybody, Matt and Tom back with you. What were you doing this weekend? We're in early December, so it's quite possible you were at a Christmas market. I was at the Peace Hall in Halifax.
I was in Sutton Coldfield.
Indeed. The Christmas market?
Yeah.
The year 2000, November 2000. 16-year-old Leanne Tiernan was visiting the Leeds Christmas Market with her friend Sarah, and they caught a bus back to Bramley, a few miles outside of Leeds where they lived. It was about 4:50 p.m, so it was dark because it was November. As the two of them got off the bus, they separated at a place called Howley Lane. Leanne went one way through a wooded area, and Sarah went home. Sarah watched her go, but when they got home they'd made a promise that one would ring the other to make sure they'd got home safely. Sarah rang Leanne's house, was quite surprised that her mother answered and that Leanne had not arrived home. At 5:20, Leanne's mother phoned Leanne's mobile phone. The phone rang and was then suddenly switched off. At 7 p.m, Leanne Tiernan was classed officially as a missing person. The police investigation was one of the biggest ever in West Yorkshire at that point. There were 200 police officers and volunteers working on the case, all trying to find the whereabouts of Leanne. Bizarrely, her phone had been switched back on briefly on the 27th of November, the day after she'd gone missing. The messages that had been sent through were not replied to. 1,750 buildings were searched. Canals were drained. Waste collection, bin collection, was all stopped so that all the bins could be looked through to make sure there was no evidence inside them. But it seemed to lead nowhere. Soon there was also a £10,000 reward put up for information, and Leanne's face was put on milk cartons across the UK. Everybody was looking for her. Not too long after witnesses had been sought, somebody came forward saying they had spotted an unusual person in Howley Gill, the woods that Leanne had walked through. This man was walking a dog, acting very strangely. CCTV footage of Leanne and Sarah shopping in Leeds was released in the hope of jogging somebody's memory, but sadly no leads led to any positive conclusion,
And just a few months later, the worst news a parent can ever hear happened.
August 20th, 2001, the search for Leanne came to an end. A dog walker here in Lindley Woods in Otley phoned the police to say he'd found something near a car park in the woods here. When the police investigated, they didn't find the body of Leanne. She'd been wrapped in 7 bin liners, a black bag placed over her head and tied at the neck with a leather dog collar. She'd also been bound with ties. Now, this was 9 months after she'd gone missing. The police realised that the decomposition of the body had not been enough for somebody to have been out in the open in 9 months, even though she was also placed inside a duvet cover as well. So sadly, the police decided that Leanne must have been kept somewhere, like a fridge or a freezer, in cold storage, and only dumped more recently in the woods just here. Tragic.
John Taylor, born 1956, was a delivery driver for Parcel Force and lived on the same housing estate as Leanne. He was known locally as the Pet Man, owning numerous animals. He was also a poacher and sold pet food. According to his neighbours, he was Mr. Ordinary. The public release of info that Leanne's body had been found in Lindley Woods saw 2 former girlfriends of Taylor's tell separate stories to the police that Taylor often poached in Lindley Woods. The police went to see John Taylor, and he matched the description given by the witness to the dog walker in Howley Gill. And on the 16th of October 2001, Taylor was arrested. A search of his home found 3 large chest freezers. The police extended their inquiries and also found that Taylor frequently used the kind of old-fashioned Lonely Hearts telephone dating, and they traced the women he had contacted. They all commented on Taylor's bizarre fetishes of tying up women with cable ties and locking them in a cupboard. Most claimed that sexual experience with him was almost always involving bondage and their hands and wrists tied. The way they explained they had been tied up matched exactly how Leanne was found. DNA testing on Leanne also linked Taylor through a single hair caught in a knot in her scarf around her neck. The leather dog collar was linked to a shop where Taylor had bought it, and the cable ties used primarily by Parcel Force. Under police questioning, Taylor admitted that Leanne had died in his company, but by accident, and he'd panicked and hid the body in Lindley Woods. On the 8th of July 2002, Taylor eventually pleaded guilty and received 2 life sentences for the murder of Leanne.
So after Taylor's conviction, the police decided to look a bit more deeply into Taylor's past. It's likely, they thought, that Taylor had committed crimes before and could even committed murder. Of the cold cases that were reopened, one of them is most likely because just a few yards from where Leanne's body was found, just a few years previously, also tied up, dumped in the same place, was the body of Yvonne Fitt.
Yvonne Fitt was a 33-year-old in Bradford, living and working as a sex worker. She was a cocaine addict, had an 11-year-old daughter, and lived with friends. On the 12th of September 1992, the remains of Yvonne were found in Lindley Woods. She had been bound and gagged in a similar style to Leanne, but she'd also been stabbed in the chest numerous times. These newspaper articles also show the reservoir that we've just been walking next to as they hunted for the weapon that killed Yvonne.
Perhaps surprisingly, amongst the cold cases that were reopened was that of Lindsay Reimer from Hebden Bridge, who was found in the canal in 1994. And the reason they connected all these cases as possibly being linked to Taylor was, how they had died, tied up and just kind of suffocated and drowned, one or the other. Yeah. Even the Yvonne Fitt one, though, Taylor never said he was guilty of the crimes. But it does seem very coincidental that both Leanne and Yvonne were found just so close to each other.
Taylor was initially given a 20-year prison sentence, but the DNA the police now had of Taylor helped them solve 2 sexual assault charges from the 1980s that had happened in Howley Gill in Bramley, the same place Leanne was taken. On these occasions, the victims said that their assaulter wore a mask and threatened them with a knife. It was also said that he'd broken into houses and sexually assaulted the women who lived there. One such occasion, a 21-year-old woman with a small child, the child present and watching whilst the assault took place. The trial for these charges led the judge to say that Taylor could have been a sexual serial attacker for 2 decades. And in 2018, he was given a whole life term for imprisonment in Wakefield. Taylor will never, ever be released. The press named him the Beast of Bramley. But the friends and family of Leanne, and maybe also of Yvonne, have got to live with his actions for the rest of their lives.
So that is our story from here in Lindley Woods. A beautiful spot, but with a tragic backstory. Obviously, John Taylor, the Beast of Bramley, is exactly where he deserves to be. And he's not the focal point of our story. Neither are the woods. Instead, we remember Leanne, and the fact she would still only be 40 if she was with us today. You can only imagine what the family must go through. So we send our full love and respect to the family. And Leanne, rest in peace, and Yvonne as well. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you very soon for the next video. Take care.